you work for, and ideally, what are your expectations for this particular event? So, good morning, everyone, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome to the Nakuru County Food Safety webinar, focusing on the improvement of food safety through inclusive multi-stakeholder approaches and tracking county budgets for accountability. So this particular webinar has been organized jointly by SOCA, the Nakuru County, and with the assistance from the Voice for Change Partnership from SNV. And my name is Brenda Mareri. I work as a food nutrition security advisor, and I will be your moderator for today. This particular webinar is brought to us because there are various challenges that we face in the dairy and horticulture sector, and this really does contribute largely to the gross domestic product, the GDP of the country. And there's an urgency that we need to really address foodborne health burden, because the cost that comes into actually addressing health greatly does exceed the investment that has been put in food safety from both national and county governments. So we'd like to see how Nakuru County, as a county that leads in very many sectors, how is Nakuru County addressing issues of food safety? How are you looking at that particular investment? And how does it really represent the initiatives, the food safety initiatives that are being undertaken at the county level? What kind of frameworks have been put in place? What kinds of organograms do we have in place that are addressing food safety? And definitely we also want to look at the nature of the food safety system in Nakuru. How are different departments working together to ensure that food safety is actually addressed within the county? So through a partnership of the Voice for Change Partnership Project, working with Nakuru County and SOCA, and also different departments within the county, that would be agriculture, trade, and public health. SOCA has been able to undertake various food safety initiatives, and that is what has brought us here together, really to look at, reflect on the gains and identify the areas that we do need improvement on to increase the budget allocation, or the support that comes to food safety within the county. And in this regard, that's why the county, SOCA, and Voice for Change has partnered to actually have this particular webinar. So for this webinar, we'll be looking at three major objectives. Number one, how will the county chart forward a way to improve food safety, specifically through public-private partnerships that involves how does the public sector work with the private sector, and also consumers, how do we have that partnership approach? And again, how do we facilitate linkages to enhance food safety and promote the county trade in both horticulture and dairy? Another thing is to identify what are the key food safety initiatives that are ongoing in the county and that we need to actually either revive or introduce within the county to ensure that food safety is still a priority within the county. So I would like to first of all acknowledge the presence of all the participants who are here. As I said, once you join, kindly introduce yourself in the chat box, tell us who you are and who you work for within the county. And if you're not from Nakuru County, let us know which county you're from, and maybe some of the key deliverables, or what do you expect from this specific webinar. So without much ado, I'd like to kick off with the program. I'll do a run through of what we expect to have this morning. We'll have remarks from our CC Agriculture Nakuru, Dr. Immaculate. Then just continue introducing yourselves in the chat box. Then we'll have a background to the forum of what Voice for Change program has actually been doing in the county, and we'll have an overview from SOCA. Then we'll have a presentation from Dr. Paul Gudiga from IFPRI, who works very closely with the Voice for Change partnership to actually produce research products that really do guide how we interact with the county and how the county uses this evidence to really beef up or provide evidence or data in terms of how they're going to organize their food safety initiatives. Then we'll have some highlights from both the dairy, horticulture teams, on just sharing a few key highlights on the county food safety developments, developments in the dairy sector, dairy platforms, and also what's happening in the space of the food safety policy that's being developed in Nakuru. After that, we'll have a few discussions with various representatives from the county, consumer groups, private sector, CSOs, and regulators who are available, just to review milestones and deliverables, and also the way forward in terms of how Nakuru County wants to really address food safety in the county. So without much ado, I'd like to welcome Dr. Immaculate Maina to give us her welcoming remarks. Thank you. So Dr. Immaculate Maina. I hope she can hear us. Dr. Immaculate, if you're available.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Good morning. Yeah, welcome to the webinar, Nakuru County webinar on food. And others to come up with a food safety bill or a food safety policy to see how best we can support our producers, our traders, our consumers to do better in the area of food safety. So, by way of remarks, I first want to say that we take very seriously the matter of food safety. We realize that we can't be food secure if the food that we have is not safe. So we take that very seriously. So within the County of Nakuru, we've had internal conversations with the Department of Trade, the Department of Health through the Directorate of Public Health to discuss how better we can do around matters of food safety. It's out of that conversation that the technical team has sat down together and produced a very good document that we are now finalizing and has already gone through cabinet to be able to come up with the guidelines on how best to take care of our food safety systems. In addition, I want to say that we've also had some very good guidance from Danida, and we've had several meetings where they've guided us on how best to bring on board the food handlers. So in addition to the traditional partners in food safety conversations, we are now, in our document, we have introduced the matter of food handlers. Food handlers are the people who handle food in any way, from the street vendors to the hoteliers to anybody who's handling food for consumers. And that we think is very innovative, because in many conversations on food safety, we have seen conversations happening at the level of the competent authorities, the cafes, PCPB, ministries, technical teams, but we hardly ever hear a conversation with the real guys who handle food, the person managing the kiosk, the person who has a roadside place where people eat. Those are new conversations that we're beginning to have, and we take this with a lot of concern that ultimately it is the person who handles the food who can also be a serious weakness, or can be a serious strength in the whole food safety system. So that's a new addition to our thinking around food safety systems, and we believe that at the end of the day, we're going to have a document and guidelines that are very innovative in terms of the way that we handle food. So to all the participants, let's share widely, let's hear what you have to say, and together we believe we can do a good job for the Kenyans. Thank you so much. Asanteni sana and karibuni.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Immaculate. Great insights there. We are really in support of the development of the food safety policy, and really Nakuru will be charting the way forward for other counties and setting a really great example about how counties can really take leadership and ownership of their processes, and really look at what the people need at that particular time, and see what kind of legal frameworks can be put in place to really address food safety. Because as we've said, food safety is something that affects everyone, be it the consumers, be it those who sell, food safety, the food handlers, everyone is affected by food safety. Without much ado, I'd like to quickly move to introducing Dr. Paul Gudhiga. Dr. Paul Gudhiga works very closely with the Voice for Change Partnership under SNV, and he works as with us to really develop research products that would really assist in us identifying what are the key areas we need to focus on when it comes to budget and our food safety, and really provide us with some highlights. Where are we, and what kind of tools can we utilize at the county level, really to beef up our budgets when it comes to food safety. So Dr. Paul Gudhiga, karibu. You are welcome to share your screen and give your presentation.
Okay, thank you very much, Brenda. Sorry. I hope you can see my screen.
Yes, your screen is visible.
Okay, very well. I'm sorry, my camera ain't working very well, so I will be only using the audio, and I hope that is fine. So
No
thank you very much. Yeah, okay. Thank you very much for this opportunity to present this work that we have been doing collaboratively with SNV, the CSOs, the county government of Nakuru and other county governments, and also the national government on tracking food safety budgets. So maybe as a way of introduction, let me say that dairy and horticultural products are a major food item among the Kenyan households. And the trend is going to go only in the positive direction, more consumption of milk and vegetables into the future. Incidentally, these products are also the most implicated in foodborne diseases. And it is no wonder then that the regulatory agencies focus on them. That's why we have the Kenya Dairy Board, we have the Horticultural Directorate setting standards and trying to enforce food safety among these products. In terms of where contamination occurs, it begins at the farm, either because of poor hygiene in handling the products. At the production level, we have farmers who use poorly composited animal manure or farmyard manure. We also have a problem of excessive use of pesticides and fertilizer. In urban areas, there are people who irrigate their vegetables using sewerage, untreated sewerage water, or the others who produce these vegetables on the roadsides and therefore exposing them to contamination. The same doesn't stop there. As we transport these products from the point of production to the markets, we use, like, for example, open trucks. These vehicles are passing through dirt road, and therefore there's a lot of dust and, of course, contamination occurring, using contaminated bags and unhygienic handling practices. We have seen that even milk is transported using plastic containers, which are actually a problem because of the issues of hygiene.
Hi, Paul, if I may interrupt.
Yes, please.
Currently, I don't know if everyone is facing this issue, but the slide is stuck on slide 25. We're not seeing your current slide.
Okay, sorry about, okay. Can you see Which slide are you seeing? The one talking about where contamination occurs, or?
No, we are seeing slide 25, public investment in food safety. Yes,
Okay.
now we can see
Maybe
the
I
right
stop
slide.
sharing and share again. Okay, very well.
Yeah.
All right, let me go on. Then at the market, we also have challenges there. The way we sell on sidewalks, near waste heaps, etc. So contamination continues to occur. So it's facing a challenge here. So, Brenda, you can hear me?
Now we can hear you, yes.
Okay, yeah, I lost power, so okay. Anyway, so then the question is, okay, we have a problem of food safety. Whose problem is it and who is supposed to solve it? We say, of course, it's a societal problem, but government has a lead role to play, because if we leave it to individuals, we will never have really good levels of food safety. Because if I'm the seller of milk, if it's contaminated and the consumer doesn't know or can't see and I'm able to sell, then my problem ends there. And therefore, it's important that the public does invest in food safety. And of course, the problems that arise from food safety hazards like diseases, reduced productivity, treatment costs, also have a bearing on the public sector, because when these people are sick and they go to hospital, one way or the other, the public sector incurs the cost of treatment. There is also a problem that the seller may want to buy and pay for clean food, but he doesn't know whether it is clean or not. There's asymmetry of information, and therefore the public sector has to come in to ensure that the food is safe and the buyer really knows what they are buying. So, and therefore, really, this leads to issues of budget. You must put in resources to ensure food safety and adequate amounts, and utilize them as such. So then, it is for this reason that in this Voice for Change project, food safety was identified as an issue, and we, working together, chose the issue of tracking budgets for food safety as an area that is important to ensure that adequate resources are spent and actually utilized in ensuring that food safety is achieved. So, and why do we have to do budget tracking anyway? For we understand that political will for investment in any public policy issue like food safety has to be reflected in the budget and actual expenditures. But as you all know, food safety is a multifaceted issue. It is in agriculture, it's in health, it's in trade, and therefore trying to track all budgets that relate to food safety in all these areas is not a trivial issue. It's really multi-sectoral. It depends on how the budgets are organized, etc. So you have to develop a good methodology to do that. But first, of course, you have to understand the budget cycle. I think all of us do know we start with budget formulation that is formulated by the executive. It has to be taken to the legislature, like in our case, the county assembly. And then now the budget execution that has to be undertaken by the various departments. And of course, there is oversight, which is now the audit that is done at different levels, partly at the county and also the office of the Auditor General at the national level. All right, so I mean, we have to start with what is the policy, what are the budgets, expenditures, and tracking. And really to track, we have to have a good method for doing that. So we have to start with the policy commitments. Food safety intervention don't happen in a vacuum. There has to be a commitment, a policy, a strategy, like the CECs was explaining. There has to be a commitment by the government to actually do something. Either it's the Act of Parliament at national level, it's county laws or policies, etc., or regulations that are in place. So we start from there. Then we look at how is that backed up by the budgets. And finally, the actual expenditures, because we know budgets don't mean or doesn't mean expenditure. Sometimes we budget, we put money in paper, but for various reasons, it is not expended. Either it's released, but the financial year ends without the expenditure occurring, or it doesn't happen, there are reallocation and money is taken to other sectors, etc. And therefore, the actual expenditures are very important, only that it comes with a lag of about 3 years because of the procedures of audit. The features of a good tracking tool is that it has to be comprehensive, covering all activities. It has to be timely, like available in a regular and a timely basis. It has to be user-friendly, and also it has to be owned by those who use it. So this has to be owned by the government itself, the CSOs that are doing this, and others, so that it's not a tool for one group accusing the other, but rather a mirror that all can look at and really agree this is where we are. All right, so then what exactly is an expenditure on food safety? As I said earlier, it's in health, it's in agriculture, it's in trade, it's in water and sanitation and others. So then you have to examine in detail the budget lines, and you have to distinguish between food safety specific interventions, which really are directly related to expenditures to make dairy and horticulture food safe. But there are others that are food safety sensitive interventions. They are not directly related to food safety, but they aid in making food safe. For example, capacity building, research, an element of extension, for example, where you teach people about hygiene, that is an expenditure that is related to food safety indirectly. But then you have to apportion a specific percentage to food safety. So these are the steps. You identify dairy and horticulture food safety activities. You assess whether they are specific or sensitive, and then you allocate the portion of expenditure accordingly. So for those that are very specific to food safety, the whole amount, 100%, is accounted for food safety. Where they are sensitive, you assign a proportion. And how do you do that? You get the opinion of the expert, you do consultation, and you build a consensus through validation. So in this process particularly, we undertook consultation with various people involved. I think this photo we took sometime in 2018 in June. We visited Nakuru County, I had consultation with various officers and talked about these matters. Some of the challenges we face is the difficulty of achieving consensus on what to include, especially on the food safety sensitive budget lines. But again, it's about really a trade-off. Those that are very far but are contributing, you assign a smaller weight. There are also some technical challenges, what components and lines to include. You know that our budgets are now programmatic, so you have programs and sub-programs. Some are very broad, and sometimes you don't have very specific activities. So those are challenges. Then the collection challenges, how to routinize the data collection. Different counties upload data at different times. And for the actual expenditure, as we said, it comes with a lag of about 3 or even 4 years. So, but despite these challenges, working together, we were able to come up with a budget tracking tool that is MS Excel based. We made it very user-friendly by interfacing the underlying data with pivot tables and creating dashboards so that it's not all big numbers, but there's a way of making sense of them. And we try to make it easy for others to use by updating it with new data and being able to make sense of it. And it starts, of course, with the raw data. Raw data is as detailed as it can be. Different counties, different programs, sub-programs, amount by years, etc. Very bulky data and difficult, of course, to make sense of. But then we try and then begin to combine the raw data, and then we move now to pivot tables and charts, where of course you can see total budget, you can see the daily food safety and horticultural expenditures, and then you can actually begin to make a bit more sense of it by picking a year of the budget is spent on various aspects of food safety. Maybe for Nakuru, I would want to show this from year 2015 to 2016 to 2018, 2019. We saw an increase of the first 3 years from about 0.5% to almost 2.5% by 2017, 2018. And then there was a drop in 2018, 2019. We don't know about this year yet, but we hope that the trend should continue to increase rather than decrease or fluctuate. But I think this is a graph that I would want us to look at because it better tells the story. I have highlighted Nakuru County. So the columns that have green color are the estimated cost of foodborne diseases per capita. So we are talking about almost 1,000 shillings worth of loss because of foodborne diseases. We are comparing that with the food safety budget, the public one, which is about 36 shillings per capita. You notice that here there is need to do a bit more because each individual in the county loses almost 1,000 shillings a year because of issues that are related to foodborne diseases due to either deaths or reduced productivity or hospital expenditure or long-term chronic issues that arise out of food safety. But our expenditure is a bit lower. So from the public perspective, of course, our budgets don't capture everything. There could be other programs done by NGOs or others that probably could bring this figure a little bit higher. But I think the situation still says that we need to do more in terms of increasing our expenditure. So the lessons we learned from this budget tracking work is that working collaboratively is better. We tried, rather than sit in the office and do all these computations and everything and bring to the relevant people, we try to involve everyone. The CSOs have been trained on it. We have worked with the county governments, from the very initial stage, sharing that information with them so that there is better buying and common understanding of we are doing. And I think that this is very important going forward. But the key message here is that the effort to increase food safety budgets, I think, is important. Of course, how and where to spend the money is an issue that the county government itself can work on based on the priorities. I think the CEC mentioned those people who are handling food. That is an important area too. So where to spend the money, I think, is a different issue, but the prioritization, I think, has to be done based on really the need. But the general message is that we need to progressively increase budgets on food safety going forward. I thank you all for listening. Back to you, Brenda.
Yeah, thank you so much, Paul, for your presentation. And I think that gives us some insight on why budget is important and why we should really need to focus on how much are we really investing in our counties, specifically looking at Nakuru County. How much are we investing when it comes to our budgets? Are we consciously looking at this as a very important need for the county? Are we targeting, areas where we know we can improve on in terms of budget? And just to add also on top of just what Dr. Paul Gudiga has presented, we do utilize the food safety budget tracking tool that, if pre-developed with guidance fully by Dr. Paul Gudiga, and this particular tool really highlights in our budgets, what are you investing on when it comes to food safety? And when you look at the different budget lines over the years that we've worked together on the food safety budgeting tool, budget tracking tool, you really do identify that the areas where if we cannot directly allocate, we can reallocate funds to really beef up food safety initiatives within the county. And this really brings me to the point where Voice for Change was really focusing on very key aspects of how do we stimulate policy development at county level. Then again, how do we ensure there is budgetary allocation? Because activities and policies might be available, but if we don't consciously think about budgeting this particular aspect, then it will not be a win-win situation. So I'd like to bring in Soka to really provide us with an insight as a CSO who has been working in the Voice for Change project, working with Nakuru County and working with IFPRI very closely. What have been your experiences, learnings as a CSO under the Voice for Change project, and the key highlights when it comes to how civil society is really linked to working with the counties and using evidence specifically on increasing budget allocation in the food safety space. So I'd like to bring in Sarah Kuria, who works with SOCA, which is the Society of Crop Agribusiness Advisors, to really provide us with that insight on, as a CSO working in the Voice for Change project, what are your highlights, milestones, and even key achievements that you've been able to really see within the project in Nakuru County? Yeah, Sarah? I hope Sarah can hear me. I think you're trying to share a screen, Sarah. You are muted if you're trying to speak. Okay, I suspect we might have lost Sarah because I cannot hear her, but maybe Ricky, you can step in for Sarah before we bring her in and just give us maybe a comment or two about how SOCA has worked under the Voice for Change project. Yeah, Ricky, you can unmute yourself. But I can see Sarah is back now. So Sarah, if you can hear me, kindly unmute yourself and give us your views.
Okay, good morning, everyone. I'm Sarah from Society of Crop Agribusiness Advisor, and I'm here to speak on the role of the CSO, especially in the Voice for Change Partnership Project. The Voice for Change Partnership Project was a 5 years project that started in 2016, and it had 4 thematic areas, but in this case, we are working on the food nutrition security thematic area. We were 3 CSO, that is CATS, working in the dairy subsector, and soccer working in the horticulture subsector. And we had SACDEP working in the post-harvest losses of both dairy and horticulture. And we were working with 4 counties, that is Nakuru being one of them, Nyandarua, Laikipia, and Murang'a. And we've carried out various activities, and this far we can see the fruits of this project, the issues of food safety through sensitization program that we've been able to do, working together with the county's government. People now are aware about the issues that can affect food at a different level, from production to the marketing and even at the consumption level. And consumers are able to demand the safety of the food they buy from the market. Nakuru County has been very supportive, starting from the goodwill from the Ministry of Agriculture through the leadership of the county executive member, that is Dr. Immaculate. And thank you for your great support in food safety initiatives. And Nakuru is one of the county that has taken up the issues of food safety and have been able to do various initiatives and support even other stakeholders who are coming also to support the other initiative in food safety. And Nakuru County was one of the county that started in the development of the food safety policy, and we congratulate you for that. And you have also seen changes even in the budget through the budget use of the budget tracking tool that was developed together with the county officers. We've seen some few initiatives that has been put in the budget. Yeah, some for sensitization and other issues that other initiatives that the government is taking. The role of CSO has been to advocate for such commitment from the government, that is budgetary commitment, policy commitment, and also training the actors on how to ensure that there is safety of food at a different level, from trading, marketing, and at the production level. So this far, I know the people who present on what we've been able to do with the county government, and therefore, because I don't want to preempt what is in those presentations, I thank you for joining this webinar. And Brenda, maybe we can hear from those presentations, because they have more about what we've been able to do. I've just highlighted. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sarah, for giving us that highlight. And I can also maybe provide a bit more addition to what Sarah has just highlighted, that the Voice for Change program really has closely worked with the different counties. And other than CATS, who have worked on the dairy sector, we also have soccer, who are hosting this particular event. And we also have SACDEP, who have been working on the post-harvest loss agenda and have been very instrumental looking at the potato sector, working very closely with the county. So the Voice for Change project has really worked with these 3 CSOs to really highlight and address issues that are being faced in the dairy and the horticulture sector in Nakuru County. And with that, we'd really want to hear from those who actually do work in the county, and really to share with us key highlights in the different sectors on how the different projects you worked with, Voice for Change, for example, and all the CSOs who worked with you in the county, what are the highlights you have in terms of what Nakuru has been able to achieve? And I'd first like to invite Mr. Joseph Gaturuku to give us some highlights on specifically horticulture. And yeah, we'd be interested to hear, what Nakuru County has done and what kind of partnerships have you formed, and looking ahead, what's in store for Nakuru? Mr. Joseph Gaturuku. You can unmute yourself. And if possible, you can also put on your video so that we can see you for those who might not know who you are. I hope he's not facing any technical difficulties. Mr. Gaturuku. Sadly, I cannot hear him. I think as he tries to fix whatever issues he might be facing, we'll also be joined by Madam Jane, who will also provide us with some insights on the dairy sector. How has been the progress in the dairy sector, specifically working with people like the CATS organization, which is a CSO that also works with Voice for Change Partnership, with the dairy stakeholder platforms that have been formed, and the progress that is being made in regards to policies or frameworks that are being provided in the county. What are the progress that has been made in the dairy sector? And also, as Dr. Immaculate Maina has mentioned, we have the Nakuru policy, food safety policy that is being drafted and has really made some headway. So we'd want to hear more from Mr. Nicholas, who would tell us more about how the process started, which partners are involved in this particular process, and what more is left, and how can we also really provide support and insight into this document to make sure that Nakuru leads as the first county to really have a policy in place, because without the framework in place, we might not be able to achieve all the food safety initiative we have. So I don't know if Mr. Joseph Gaturuku has been able to connect. Kindly, and you can unmute yourself and put on your video to make your presentation. Mr. Gaturuku. Yeah, I'm unable to get to Mr. Gaturuku, but maybe Sarah, you can provide maybe a highlight of basically maybe 3 key achievements that we've been able to achieve with under the Voice for Change project with Nakuru County. So maybe Sarah, give us some 3 key achievements as we try and get Mr. Gaturuku online. Sarah?
No, she's at home.
Oh, I can see. Mr. Gaturuku, we can hear you.
Hey, Brenda, sorry.
No problem. We understand the network issues have become the norm with us moving into this kind of new norm, with Zoom calls and all, but we are glad that you've been able to connect. So Mr. Gaturuku, kindly give us some highlights on the horticulture space in the county of Nakuru, and really what are the highlights and achievements that you've been able to realize over the past few years, especially working with the Voice for Change project. Yes, Mr. Gaturuku, I can hear you.
Yes, but the presenter, I don't know whether my presentation is visible.
Not yet. We can't see the presentation. You can kick off as we try to set that up for you.
Please do.
Mr. Gaturuku, if you can hear me, you can begin your presentation as we try and set that presentation up for you on the shared screen.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Brenda. And sorry for the technology hitch. So I'll start my presentation. The PowerPoint presentation has been developed together with the Department of Livestock. And then
Mr. Gaturuku, we seem to have lost you. Are you still there?
hi, Brenda, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Please continue.
I will first of all introduce the county. Nakuru County is in the breadbasket region of Kenya, in the rural areas, with about 70% of the rural population working on farm. Agricultural production systems are largely rain-fed. Urban and peri-urban agriculture, that's crops and livestock, is increasingly being practiced, though some, as Dr. had said, using contaminated water.
We seem to have lost you, Mr. Gaturuku. I don't know if you can hear me. Can you hear me, Mr. Gaturuku? Mr. Gaturuku, I think we have lost him. Yeah, sadly, I believe we have lost Mr. Gaturuku. So maybe Sarah or Ricky Aguda from Soccer, before we get him back online, kindly give us a highlight of the key achievements that Voice for Change has realized within the horticulture sector, specifically in the county of Nakuru. Really like to hear some of these highlights before Mr. Gaturuku is able to join us once again. So Sarah or Ricky, kindly feel free to unmute yourselves and provide us with that insight under horticulture and food safety specifically. What are the key highlights when you look at budgets, when you look at policy formulation, and really that, the collaboration you've been able to achieve with the county? Kindly provide us with that insight from a CSO perspective. So Sarah or Key, kindly feel free. Kindly unmute yourselves, Ricky, Sarah. I don't know if we've lost both Sarah and Ricky.
Hi, Brenda.
Yes.
Sorry for that. We've lost Gaturuku, and he had some highlights on what we've been able to do. One of the things that we've been able to do, working in collaboration with the county government of Nakuru, is to do the capacity building of the value chain actors from the sub-county levels. We've carried various community of practice, as we are calling them, at the sub-county levels. That is Kulesoi, Naivasha, Joro, Moro, and the community of practice composed of farmers, transporters, traders, processors, and even some extension officers at the sub-county level. We may not have reached everyone at the county level, but these were representatives that we trained so that they can also empower others on the issues or matters of the food safety at all those levels, because we had everyone along the value chain. That is one of the activities we were able to do. That was back in 2018. And we also did at the county level, that is, we did one county stakeholder sensitization. That is on the county officers from the Department of Agriculture, Department of Trade, and even Health, because food safety cut across those three departments, which has mandate on the implementation of the issues or matters concerning food safety. So we did our one capacity building, and we also did one capacity building to the traders, that is market superintendent, and the traders at the market level, specifically Wakulima market, one sensitization forum on the food safety issues at market level. And we also carried out the World Food Safety Day celebration in Nakuru County that was celebrated at Wakulima Market. We worked with the three departments, health, trade, and agriculture. And the event was graced by Dr. Immaculate Agriculture, which was very successful. And the traders there, they were very welcoming, and they were able to identify with the issues they face. And that was a very great opportunity even for them to raise some of the challenges at the market level, hopefully, which were taken. And we've seen Nakuru County do quite a lot. That market was upgraded, and the remaining areas, including the waste management issues, they were addressed at the market level. And I believe even more is going to be done at the county level following the sensitization that has been done at that level. Kaide, you can tell me when Gaturuku is on so that he can continue. I'm just mentioning just but a few that we've been able to do. We started the formation of Nakuru County Food Safety Committee back in 2019. We did the preliminary the meetings with the stakeholders, and these we recognize that food safety mandates are with all domiciled in different regulatory agencies and the Ministry of Agriculture, and therefore what we did, we worked with the county government and other regulatory agencies just to bring them together, because it's a multi-stakeholder approach to bring them together to ensure that the issues of food safety are well coordinated at the county, that those stakeholders are speaking to one another through that forum, so that they're able to understand what each other is doing to bring harmonization of the and the coordination of the issues of food safety. So we did that, we brought them together in the formation of food safety, and we are glad later the partners like MESP and Agrify came along to support the process. And the committee has so far been able to develop a food safety policy, the draft, which is, I think, at the almost county assembly level. The technical committee to develop the policies were done, and various meeting has been able to, has been carried out to develop the same, and therefore stakeholder has been involved. in the development of food safety policy. And a policy is very important because it gives the structure and framework for the county to implement the issues of food safety. Yeah, there are other things like the budget tracking and advocacy at the county level. And as I had mentioned earlier, we've seen changes even in the budget, Nakuru budgets. They have been able to include some sensitization forum. I'm talking about the agriculture budget, where they have put up some stakeholder forum on the matters of food safety. And that is very encouraging to start with. And I know there are more that need to be done, but such initiative, they encourage even the future intervention. So that's what the county has been able to do. There are others interventions the county has been able to do on their own with the support of other partners. Like Nakuru County, they have the spraying service providers. And this is very important because one of the challenges that we face on the food safety issues is the issues of minimum residue levels. Especially mostly this is seen at the export levels, but also at the local levels, it's only that sometimes our foods are not tested, but we've experienced with the export level. So Nakuru County has been able to train the spraying service providers who are well trained on how to spray and the quantity, the amount to spray the crop. And this is also very encouraging. They also do the plant clinic. The plant clinic, I wish that Ruku will come back just to explain how many they have been able to do. The plant clinic, that's also to give the work of the extension at that level, and also the community pest monitors. They also have trained community pest monitors. That will ensure that the issues at the farm level are well addressed. Yeah, the issues of food safety at the farm level. I think that's what I can say for now.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sarah. Sadly, we've not been able to get Mr. Gatruku back. And I think also, I believe Jane is having an issue connecting, but Jane, we are trying to provide you with credentials to be able to give you insights. So as we work on that, private sector is very important. And I believe we have someone from KNCCI, Linda, who is here with us to really give us some insight on how KNCCI works with the county, especially when we look at budgets and the food safety initiatives in the county. What role does KNCCI play, specifically looking at supporting the counties and supporting the private sector, the businesses within the counties, even when you look at the food business operators, the FBOs? What role does KNCCI play? Linda, you can unmute yourself. Yeah, Linda, if you can hear me, just unmute yourself and give us an overview, what KNCCI does and how they support the county, specifically looking at food safety initiatives. Yeah, Linda, kindly unmute yourself. Hope she can hear me. Linda? Okay, I think we'll try and sort out. I can see she's having some connection issues as well, which is okay. We will bring that back in. Yes, Linda.
Yes, my name is from the Chamber of Commerce. From Chamber of Commerce, Nakuru chapter. As a private sector, we've been the for food safety from the water, and we give our support.
Sorry, Linda, but your line is not very clear. Say that again.
Sensitizing our yes.
Yeah, sorry, Linda, your line is not very clear. Say that again.
On handling of food.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, Linda, your line was not very clear, but kindly try one more time so that we can hear your views. Very important to hear what KNCCI does and how you do support the different aspects of food safety in the county. So Linda, you can try again. And I can see Mr. Gaturuku is back. I hope he can hear me.
I can hear you, Brenda. Can hear you.
Okay, great. Yeah, I think as Linda also tries and sorts out the technical issues, I think we can go back to where we started, Mr. Gaturuku. You're giving us an overview of horticulture in Nakuru.
Yes. So
yeah,
are you able to upload for me? Hello?
Yeah, you can
Brenda?
continue. Yeah, continue as we try and upload that for you. Kindly continue.
So I was saying that, so horticulture, I think that horticulture is a major enterprise in the country, with the industry being a major income earner and employer. Over 80% of
Mr. Gaturuku, we've lost you. Can you hear me? Mr. Gaturuku, can you hear me? I believe we have lost him once again. Can you hear me, Mr. Gaturuku?
Hi, Brenda. Hello,
Yes.
Brenda.
Yes, Dr.
I propose that you pin his presentation and we can have another officer present, please.
Yeah, we're in the process of getting that presentation.
Once you pin it up, we can have somebody else present. We have the chief officer here, and any of us should be able to present make that presentation, please.
Right, so maybe I can ask Sarah to kindly do that in the background as we get someone else to present.
That's fine.
Yeah. So Sarah, kindly help us in the back end to pin that up as we have someone else maybe present, because I can see.
Yes, Brenda, we are doing that in few.
All right, thank you, Sarah.
We have the presentation. We are doing that in few.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. Kindly, pin that up. And I think I can see there are quite a number of officers here who can present, as Dr. Immaculate has mentioned. So also on the back end, kindly facilitate that, Sarah, to have that up.
Sorry, Brenda.
Yeah, I can hear you, Mr. Gaturuku. Is your network connection stable for you to continue?
If they pin the presentation, I can still try to continue.
Yeah, kindly continue as we pin that up. So just continue speaking as we put that up.
So I was on horticulture in Nakuru County. Horticulture is a major enterprise in the county, the industry being a major income earner and employer. And over 80% of the horticultural production is practiced in farms. And the enterprises include vegetables, fruits, and cut flowers, herbs, and spices. And we are seeing that over 5% of cut flower export in Kenya is from Nakuru County, and that translates to over 6 billion Kenyan shillings. So the whole sector horticulture industry contributed last year an estimated 8 billion Kenya shillings. Can you hear me?
Yes, continue.
Hello? Okay, challenges in horticulture production, climate change resorting to new pests, the high incidence of pests and diseases resulting from frequent use of pesticides. And then there is excess use of pesticides and fertilizers. There is low awareness levels on food safety and consumer concerns by producers and food business operators at core levels. Then there are post-harvest handling losses due to the nature of the perishability of the horticultural produce. So due to the various challenges I rated above, SOCA facilitated the coming together at the very initial stages of Nakuru Food Safety Committee and assisted in the formulation of terms of reference. And this committee is comprised of multi-stakeholder members from different ministries and regulatory agencies with food safety mandate. And I mentioned that like the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce, KEFIS, KCD, the Kenya Dairy Board, and so forth. It's in this safety coordination in the county. Other partners in the support of the formation of the Food Safety Committee are the Agri-Fi. 3 subcommittees have been formed, that the Village and Horticulture. Committees will answer to the Big Food Safety Committee, chaired by this Madam CEC. The committee is currently developing food safety policy with financial and technical support from NEST, Agri-Fi, and SOCA. And Waziri had told us that it is part of the cabinet. Then another activity that has been facilitated, capacity building of community of practice on horticulture, food safety.
How are you?
Mimi niko salama, labda wewe?
Hata mimi niko salama.
So this initiative
And you're
was supported by.
Yes, you know me, I went on honeymoon.
So on weekend, oh yeah, you don't disturb honeymoons, ndio?
Can you hear me? Brenda?
Yeah, Dr. kindly mute yourself.
So this initiative was supported by Society of SOCA. Several trainings were undertaken at sub-county level together with the Department of Agriculture. So we had farmers, transporters, traders, processors, and extension officers, training among actors. And the community of practice was formed at separate levels, that is Moro, Resoi, Naivasha, and Joru. So other interventions in horticulture, we had one training, the sensitization on food safety. Then there is the development of internal horticulture food safety action plan. Then budget tracking tool, training to county officers and budget lobbying forum for food safety investments. Then there is commemoration of the first World Food Safety Day that was held at 7th June 2019. Whose theme was safe food is everyone's responsibility. And the venue was at Wakurima Market in Nakuru town. So the county government has also established plant clinics across the county to help farmers in handling pest issues in a sustainable manner. There is a total of that 5 clinics has been established, and we target to have a plant clinic powered by 2022. There is use of IPM being advocated, and pest use is the last resort. So training of spray service providers has been done. So this is to reduce misuse of pesticides. And 135 fully trained spray service providers have been trained, and we plan to train more. Then there is training of community pest monitors in the communities so that quick action is taken before pest population build up. And the department has already trained 20 community pest monitors, and we plan to achieve more in the near future. Then we are collaborating with other public and private institutions to address the issues of food safety in horticulture. Other activities, we have been hosting few days, the departments together with the stakeholders, and so that latest technologies in the industries can be very close to the localities of the farmers. And the stakeholders have been critical players in these few days, where they avail their technologies and expertise for the benefit of the farmers. So many events have been organized across all the sub-counties, and the support from the stakeholders has been overwhelming, including support from SNV, SOCA, and SACBED. So thank you all. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you all.
Hi. Thank you, Gaturuku, for that presentation. Yeah, Brenda, I think Jane can also present because it is the same presentation, only that we are starting from dairy.
Yeah, thank you so much. I don't know if Jane has been able to be connected, but she had mentioned that she's having a few issues. So on the back end, kindly work on getting Nick and Jane on board to make their presentations. Yeah, thank you, Sarah. Kindly work on that to get Jane on board. So Jane would be presenting on ideally the dairy aspect of what has been worked on in the Nakuru County. And it's very important to hear the different aspects from different departments. Horticulture, looking at, of course, the initiatives being undertaken in that aspect. And in dairy, of course, looking at what has been done to address food safety issues in the dairy sector. Therefore, has Jane been able to be elevated? If not, Mr. Gaturuku, would you be able to take us through the dairy aspect as well? I see the presentation is up. So Sarah, if you can put that in full screen, I think we'd be able to go through that. I also see Hannah. Hannah is present. She can be facilitated to provide that insight. I think as you do that, I had called on Ricky to provide us with some insights on the workings of soccer in the Nakuru County, what we've been able to do in terms of food safety, and your views on specifically budgeting. How have you seen budget being allocated, reallocated? What kind of investment is being made in the county, the collaborations that you've made? So maybe Ricky, as we get the presentation up and call on to either Mr. Gaturuku or Jane. Ricky, kindly unmute yourself. Maybe give us some views on that. Ricky?
Thanks, Brenda. Good morning, everyone. My name is Ricky Aguda, as Brenda has mentioned. I work with the Society of Property Business Advisors alongside Sarah and other colleagues in this particular partnership. So just to go directly to the question or the point that Brenda has raised, I think mine is really to just reiterate what has been mentioned by the other panelists. First of all, just the reflection from Dr. Gudiga's presentation on the disparity between investments directly touching on food safety and the cost of foodborne diseases. That's a gap we need to close. And we must appreciate that within the last 2 years, and that's within the time frame of this project, we have only recently been able to get clarity from the CADAP process on what specific indicators can be used to measure allocations that are addressing food safety. And I think the role of the county government, as has been outlined, is really to provide the suitable environment. So the programs, all the way from the spray service provider to the county, to the sub-county scouting officers, and lately now with the formation of the Food Safety Committee, those programs, I believe, have laid a foundation for some massive changes, but most probably in terms of entrenching their successes with the ongoing development of the policy, it would be necessary to have maybe specific allocations supporting the activities of the county's food safety committee, so that engagements that bring on board the real value chain actors, I think as Dr. Immaculate has mentioned, can be fast-tracked and can be given the level of visibility and attention, so that the private sector, and this private sector, we are talking about everyone from the youth with the border borders who distribute milk, to some of the groups and cooperatives that are doing some initial stage processing and value addition to horticultural products. They would all have an opportunity to then be engaged, and they would be in a better position to also match the county government's initiatives by bringing on board their own resources. So those would be my remarks in terms of where I believe the increase in budget can serve to just stimulate further investment from private sector. And of course, we haven't had in full, but it would be great to hear from the county chapter of National Chamber of Commerce and Industry, how they are also then integrating efforts towards understanding of policies or standards such as the KS 1758 by their members, in order to facilitate compliance with food safety standards and requirements. So thank you, Brenda. I hope I've been able to answer your question.
Thank you so much, Ricky. I think very good insights, especially when you bring in the aspect of private sector. And I see Linda from KNCCI is back. And Ricky, you've touched on the need of especially K 1758. And do people understand these particular standards? How do they work within the county? And how do members of KNCCI within the private sector, business owners, really get to understand what traceability is within the K 1758 context? Linda, if you can unmute yourself, you had started giving us an overview of what KNCCI does and what you've done in Nakuru. Maybe touch a bit on traceability in the county of Nakuru. Linda, you can unmute yourself. Yeah, thanks, Linda.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear
Can
you.
you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, my name is from Chamber of Commerce, private sector, on food safety. Whereby we've actively participated all that the world would today committee where we give members who are most community. We've also worked closely with you, sensitizing the community on issues of food, that is proper handling of food, to avoid contamination, because most members are business most of us they take part in of transport stroke distributors, or maybe tailors. Most of them have knowledge on handling of food, whereby sanitize them our level. It might not be nice, but slowly. Currently, with the progress of the committee, development of the national policy, as an office, we should continue fully implement the fully. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Linda. I hope you were able to hear her. There's a bit of a disturbance, but I was able to ideally grasp a bit of what Linda was saying. But if you have any direct questions to KNCCI, kindly send to the chat box and directly address them to Linda to get more information on the role that KNCCI is playing. Kindly, Sarah, put up the presentation for the dairy department from the livestock team. We'd like to see ideally how activities in the dairy sector have really progressed with the work Nakuru County has done, and also with the Voice for Change partnership. Mr. Gaturuku, you can take it up for to take us through the dairy aspect. Yeah, Sarah, kindly, can put full screen, and you can scroll to the dairy presentation part of this. Yeah, so I think Mr. Gatruku can unmute himself and take us through the dairy aspect of it. Mr. Gaturuku, kindly unmute yourself and let us know where to scroll to, which slide you'd like to kick this presentation off with. Yeah, I think we can continue moving down the slides. I believe it's probably slide 6.
Yeah, hello.
Yeah,
you can hear me?
Yes, good. All right, there, thank you.
That is dairy in Nakuru County?
Correct, yes.
So dairy is a major livestock enterprise in the county, creating direct and indirect jobs. The estimated dairy cattle population is 407,325, exotic and crosses. So 4% are zero grazed, 55% are extensively grazed, and 11% are tethered. So average production is 6 liters per cow per day. That is, average milk production is 6 liters per cow per day. So milk production in 2019 was estimated at 300 million liters, and that was valued at 12 billion Kenya shillings. Approximately 60% of the milk is sold through the informal milk markets. So we move to next slide. So the Nakuru County Dairy Cooperative Union was formed in 2019 with over 14 active dairy cooperatives being members. There are over 110 registered dairy cooperatives with a membership of over 16,783. And that comprises of 65% men and that 5% women. The county has an installed milk chilling capacity of over 100,000 liters per day. That is among the cooperatives. And that is translated to only 15% of produced milk. Next slide, please. So then there was the development of Nakuru County Dairy Strategy Plan from 2019 to 2022. And this was a multi-stakeholder undertaking supported by Voice for Change through CATS. The county developed a county strategic plan for 2019 to 2022. And the importance of the strategic plan is to guide the county in developing the dairy value chain. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So strategies to success of the dairy value chain as per the developed strategic plan. One, there is inefficient institutional policy and legal framework. Then there is inadequate access to quality and affordable inputs and services. Then there is inadequate institutional capacity and resources. And then there is poor quality and safety of dairy products. So next slide, please. So we continue with the challenges. As highlighted by the strategic plan, there is raw milk production and productivity, inefficient market and unstable market prices, inappropriate land use practices. Then there is post-harvest losses of the produce, and then inadequate social inclusive strategies in the dairy value chain. So the joint efforts in ensuring milk quality and safety, one, there has been this has been supported by Consumer Unit Trust, Society, CATS, by a Voice for Change project. Several trainings were undertaken by Kenya Dairy Board and Milk Production. Milk traders, especially the milk bar and milk dispenser owners, were also trained. In Moro Sub-County, milk feeders were trained on all aspects of quality milk handling. Yeah, next slide, please. The joint efforts in empowering of market organizations. Now, with the support of stakeholders, the county has held several meetings with leaders of dairy cooperatives. The objective was to facilitate union formation. And the importance of the union was to address concerns of dairy cooperatives and champion milk qualities and safety issues among its members. The Nakuru County Dairy Cooperative Union was formed and officially registered last week. And this is a major milestone for the dairy industry in the county. We move to the stakeholders. Next slide, please. Yeah, the stakeholders list some of the stakeholders that have participated in the dairy value chain and also in the horticulture, some in horticulture value chain, Voice for Change, through CATS, SACTEP, SNV, the MEST, the NARIG, ASDF2, Department of Trade and Cooperatives, leaders of dairy cooperatives, Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries, Kenya Dairy Board, and so forth. There are several stakeholders that is not exhaustive. We move to the next slide, please. Next slide, please. So next slide. Brenda, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. From the back end, kindly move to the next slide. Slide 12. Yeah, kindly move to the next slide. Yeah, I'm being told they're having
so slide 12 and that.
Yeah.
It's okay. Slide 12 and 13.
Winnie, if you can hear us, next slide.
Yeah, Mr. Gatruku can continue. Yes.
Yeah, slide 12 and 13 indicate some of the evidences in activities conducted in the dairy value chains. So you have the dairy, cattle, and we have photos there for slide 13. which are depicting on activities to increase the milk production. So, 13, we are supposed to see some of the milk coolers, and we are seeing one with a capacity of 16,000 liters for chilling milk, which is later on sold to very processors at higher prices. So thank you, Brenda. Thank you all for listening.
Yeah,
Thank you all
so
for
much.
listening.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Gaturuku. I think we had a technical issue at the back end with the slides, but thank you for taking us through what has been done within the dairy sector specifically. And maybe as we come to close, I'd like to bring in Dr. Paul Gudiga. You provided us with quite a number of insights when it comes to the budget aspect when it comes to food safety. And you know that this is really pegged on the Malabo Declaration, 10% should be allocated to agriculture. And we have cut up indicators that are our KPIs to really identify, is Kenya where it is supposed to be? Maybe Dr. Paul Diga, you can give us an overview of your experience, what you've seen in the past 4 years in regards to budget allocation at the national level, and the experience you've had with the counties as you've worked with Voice for Change, going to different counties, training the different stakeholders on the use of the budget tracking tool that was designed by IFPRI, the food safety budget tracking tool. Have all these endeavors brought us closer to increasing budget allocation? And really, what have you seen at the national and county level? What are your views, Dr. Paul Gudiga? You can hear me? Yes.
Thank you, Brenda. Thank you for bringing up that important aspect. It's a continental initiative, the Comprehensive African Agricultural Development Program, of which Kenya is a signatory. And it has been around for a while, way before devolution came into the country. We first signed in 2003. And after 10 years, the heads of state renewed commitment to cadre principles in 2015 under what we call the Malabo Declaration. And all this arises from the recognition that for us to develop as countries in this region, we have to invest in agriculture. It is actually the engine of growth. For economies to grow, for us to industrialize, we have to focus on agriculture first, increase its productivity, modernize it, increase income, because that's where most people are. And then thereafter, as incomes rise, of course, demand for industrial products will also rise, and therefore we can achieve higher levels of growth. We have been at it for many years now, and there are a lot of countries that have not been able to meet the 10% budget allocation. And a few, like 5, have consistently exceeded 10%, but others occasionally achieve it, and then consequently they fall below the 10%. One of the contentious issues has been, how do you define expenditure in agriculture? If I do a rural road, if I provide electricity in a rural area, shouldn't that also be counted as agricultural investment? And that has led to a broader definition of what agriculture expenditure is, in the sense that if an expenditure that is not directly agriculture is contributing directly, or majorly to agricultural development, it has to be, it justifies its inclusion. But even so, we haven't seen such a jump or an increase in the 10% allocation. Now, we need to invest in agriculture, both national and county. In Kenya, since the devolution came in, what we observed from looking at the budgets is that a lot of counties were not putting enough money in agriculture. In fact, could range between 2 to 3%, reflecting what is even happening at the national level. And even when there are reallocation to be done, you would notice that agriculture was the first place county governments would take money away from. So things haven't changed significantly. But I think the importance of putting money in agriculture still remains. It is the only way we are going to solve our problems of poverty. It's the only way we are going to put our countries and our counties on path of sustainable development. In the current phase of CADIP, issues of food safety have actually come in, because under CADIP there is what we call the biennial review, where every 2 years, heads of state report at the Africa Union Summit on the progress they have made in implementing CADIP. And issues of food safety have come in, including how much we are spending to achieve food safety, and other issues, including the institutional structures, the regulatory structures, the standards, and all that. So this issue has become very important also. It's at the core of CADIP. And I think the work we have been doing together under the Voice for Change is contributing towards that. And my encouragement would be that counties also need to adopt this Africa Union principle and use it to also make a case for agriculture within their counties, that the minimum should be 10% for agriculture. And I think it is not asking for too much. Even from the presentations we have been seeing of the county of Nakuru, it's the food basket, the economy is mainly agricultural. And then, I mean, we need to put money in there. And there's no shortage of things to do to make our agriculture better and modernize it. So I think that's what I would broadly share about the 10% allocation to agriculture.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Dr. Paul, you've given us a very good overview that we need to really invest in food safety, and very key highlights. The food safety budget tracking tool is available for use by the county as a product of what Voice for Change has done. So the county can really access this particular tool. And I believe through the different engagements that we've had through Voice for Change, many officials have been trained on how to use the tool. Also by Dr. Paul Gudigas, he's been working very closely with CSOs. So kindly reach out to us if you need access to this particular tool, as it is very key to really identify. As Dr. Paul mentioned, there are very key things looking at infrastructure, but even at the markets, transport sector. These are things that we closely need to look at to ensure that we have budgeted clearly for the sector. And I would like to give a chance to Dr. Immaculate Maina really to do a closing for us and provide us with some highlights on what Nakuru County is planning to do come the next 4 or 5 years, with the policy coming into place. What are the initiatives you have put in place to make sure food safety is focused, and the big elephant in the room budget. So Dr. Immaculate Karibu.
Thank you, Brenda. Thank you. Allow me to start by giving some feedback on some of the issues that have been raised. I think one of the, first of all, may I thank all the presenters. The presentations have been great, very informative. Dr. Paul Gudiga, Mr. Gaturuku, and team, you've done an excellent job with the presentations, and it's all been very good. We look forward to receiving all the presentations going forward. One of the things that has been raised is how can we enhance policy commitments to food safety? How can we enhance budgets to food safety? And I think from Dr. Paul's presentation, also how underlying word is how can we move from a 5 to 6% budget to a 10% budget? And I just want to attempt and answer to try to put my thoughts onto why agriculture budget is small and what I think can be done to improve that, and also to say what we in Nakuru County are attempting to do. Now, agriculture budgets across the whole of Kenya are small. There is no county that has been able to get to 10%. I believe the largest allocations could be Makueni at about 8%, and also Machakos, but nobody has got to the 10%, at least as far as I know. And there's several reasons for that. One is the competing needs. Obviously, there are many needs in the county level that need to be taken care of. But beyond the competing needs, I believe we can do more with having technical persons, for example, Dr. Paul Gudiga, beginning to have serious conversations with, first and foremost, ministers of finance in the counties, because the ministers of finance in the counties are the ones who do analysis of county budgets and make proposals to governors and to the budget making teams. I think those conversations are not yet happening. Not many technically sound conversations are happening with ministers of finance. Not too many of these conversations are happening with governors within counties. I think that can be enhanced. Secondly, once budget proposals go through, they are also presented to assemblies. The county assembly ultimately has a lot of power in the way that monies within counties are spent. I do not think there are enough conversations happening between technical people with this very good analysis about what agriculture should do and how it should be funded, with the budget committee of the assemblies and also with the agriculture committees. In Nakuru County, through the support we've got from our partners, we've attempted to have these conversations. And we have seen, we had a very strong conversation before the 2019-2020 budget, and of course you note it related to amount of money put into agriculture. We didn't get enough support for us to do those kind of conversations, or rather call them sort of a lobby mechanism, and that's why you see our budgets have again gone down. So that remains an area of concern for me. And then related to the same is the fact that not too many persons within the technical sphere are even willing to have conversations with our MCAs and try to explain to them how some of the decisions they make affect the food we eat, affect agriculture, and so on and so forth. So there is a disconnect between the policy making space in counties and the persons who generate the facts in support of the policies that we are making at the county level. I see that disconnect, and I think as the partners here, there's more that can be done between us as ministries with the partners. More needs to be done in conversations, in explaining issues that take with the policy makers in assembly, and also with our technical officers in the ministries of finance. Related to moving away from that, I think it's also very important that we enhance our consumer demands for safe food, our consumer demands for more investments in agriculture. We have seen quick reactions to health issues. We've seen quick community reactions to health issues. We've seen community reactions to many other issues in our counties, but you hardly ever have seen a demonstration of farmers for a budget in agriculture. And therefore, consumer demand, who consumes resources in agriculture? It is the farmer. If we do good budgeting in agriculture, we can buy more seed, we can do more extension, we can provide more tools for farmers, but without budgets, we are not able to do that. So the consumer demand is a space that can be enhanced in terms of, can farmers be more sensitive to the budget making process? When you call for public participation to budgets, you hardly ever get serious farmers attending. You'll get the activists, you'll get all manner of other traders, you'll get people in business, but you hardly ever get a critical mass of serious farmers sitting and really critiquing the budget in terms of what it means for their inputs into agriculture. So as partners, as CATS, as SNV, and all the other people that you're working with, I think these are spaces that more can be done. And also, I know we have the chamber here. The chamber mainly focuses on trade issues. See, it is up in agriculture, the value chain starts much lower in the farm, but hardly ever is agriculture and farmers a strong membership into the chambers. I think it's important, there needs to be an attitude change that agriculture is seen as a business, agriculture is seen as a value chain that critically supports agriculture. We've heard from Mr. Gaturuku that horticulture in Nakuru is an 8 billion industry, but that doesn't seem to factor into many plans of the trade space. I think these are areas that I think more can be done, better can be done, and we are willing to support and see what we can do in that. I also want to mention a little bit about our competent authorities, HCD, KDB, and so on and so forth. And the fact that some of the standards that we should be using in food, for example, the case 1758, is not a widely known document. If you walk out into the field and talk to one or two farmers and ask them, have you heard about these standards? A large number may not have heard about those standards. And therefore, I still feel that we are talking a lot to the converted. Our scientists are talking to scientists, policymakers are talking to policymakers. I am talking to officers in the Ministry of Agriculture. Those already know what needs to be done. That connectivity to the last mile, there's a lot more that needs to be done, and I think that's a space where I feel we need, in terms of food safety and food security, that last mile is one of the spaces that's one of the areas that we need to concentrate more on. What I mean by the last mile is, once we've spoken, for example, today's webinar, how do we move to the farmer, to the practicing farmer? How do we move to the food handler? How can we bridge that gap with the very good information, for example, presented by Dr. Paul, but also in a manner that is simple enough for such a person to understand what we are saying? Lastly, I believe that as a county and following the good work that we're doing, we also have a challenge of communication. Hardly we try within county systems to communicate, but some of these very good conversations, very good aspects that are coming out are not very widely communicated. I've looked at the budgetary allocations to food safety as analyzed by Dr. Paul and his team, and I'm sure my governor has not seen that. Maybe after this meeting he'll see that. And for the other 5 counties, I am almost certain that many of the governors may not have seen that. The ministers in charge of finance who actually make those proposals may not have seen that. And therefore, the question in my mind is, what can we do to communicate these results where it matters most, where decisions actually are getting done, where persons have to make certain critical decisions affecting the outcomes that we want to see. So those were my few comments, but I just want again to thank all of you for putting this together, and again request that those presentations are shared for us to do more with them. Thank you so much, Brenda.
Thank you so much, Daktari. Very pertinent points there, and this is something that for those who are in attendance, we need to take note of the very key points that Daktari has made. I think what has really stood out for me was, number one, there needs to be budget awareness. As she has said, we don't see farmers going out to the streets and demanding for more budget for their infrastructure, or more budget to ensure there's safety in the milk that they consume. So it's very key for us to bridge that gap between the understanding of the community, the consumers, the farmers, what budget really means to the community. Something else is what Dr. you've mentioned, bridging that gap between, the Department of Finance will be doing the budget without having that data backup from, let's say what like Dr. Paul Gudiga has done over the past, since I think 2016, analyzing that investment into food safety. Is that collaboration there? Is data actually informing the budgets that we develop at the county level? And something else you've mentioned that is very important is attitude change. How do you ensure that we understand agriculture is a value chain that really does support heavily a lot of those who work within the informal sector and the formal sector? So having that attitude change that this is a very important value chain or sector that we do need to invest in heavily to really support the people themselves. And lastly, the connectivity along the value chain, the communication to ensure that any budget that is being developed, any policy that is being developed is actually informed by data. The information that Dr. Paul Gudiga has actually generated, is that even available, to the counties? Or if available, has it been communicated to the decision makers so that they're well informed about the kind of decisions they make when it comes to budget and food safety? So thank you so much, Dr. Macleod, for those closing remarks. Thank you, Dr. Paul Gudiga, for taking time off your very busy schedule to give us that presentation on food safety and your perspective on where we are at this particular point in time. And to soccer team as well, to Ricky and Sarah, for giving us that overview and hosting this particular webinar. And to Dr. Gaturuku, to Joseph Gaturuku, for providing us those insights on horticulture in Nakuru County and also under the dairy sector. And also from KNCCI, Linda, I think we should definitely share your contacts on the chat box, because I'm sure it's very key to know how, especially what Dr. Macleod was talking about, Care 1758. How do we get that awareness out to the small scale businesses, medium scale MSMEs? How do we get that information out to them through your platform? So I think with that, thank you so much for attending. And I hope you've been able to take out something individually and also as departments and as the entire county to really focus on the key points that have been made today that would really move the county forward in terms of developing the policies that you're developing and addressing budget, so that food safety is no longer an issue that actually adds on to the cost of foodborne illnesses or the burden on our health budget, but it becomes something of the past, hopefully in the next few years, with Nakuru County leading. So with that, thank you so much. And this has been recorded and was being aired live on YouTube. So if you've missed anything, or if your colleagues want to watch, this will also be available on the Soccer's YouTube channel. So you can go and view the recording there. So with that, thank you so much for attending. And I think food safety should be at everyone's lips so that we really become the champions of food safety from our homes to our offices. So thank you so much. And yeah, goodbye, good afternoon, good evening for everyone else who's watching us from wherever. And yes, let's continue the fight to ensure there's food safety in all our counties and all our tables. Yeah, thank you.